Spider-Man was one of 2018's best games. I think it's safe to say, heck, it was one of the best superhero games ever made by most accounts. Despite being mainly known for the Ratchet & Clank series, Insomniac Games has been hitting banger after banger after banger ever since the end of the PS3 era. Not only did they bring us the extremely underrated Sunset Overdrive, but then they completely redefined comic book games with Spider-Man on the PS4. They followed that up with the standalone sequel starring Miles Morales, and we're currently waiting on the official continuation, Spider-Man 2. Now, the new game will feature Peter Parker and Miles facing off against characters like Venom and Kraven the Hunter. Plus, there's even rumors that the Green Goblin will make an appearance at some point in the story, which that kind of makes sense given his teasers in the last game. Now, very little is known about Spider-Man 2 right now, but we have a bit of intel that may help you for what's to come, assuming you weren't already on the edge of your seat. So, take all this with the proverbial grain of salt. But we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff in this video when it comes to Spider-Man 2, some of which may come true, some of which may be bad intel. Everything is subject to change, but no matter what happens, this is going to be an awesome game. Welcome to Video Game Leaks, everybody. Chaos here. Make sure you drop a like. Make sure you are subscribed because that's what we do. Daily video game leaks every single day. Stick around for the entire video. We have a lot to unpack about new details for Spider-Man 2. Now, when it comes to comic book games, a lot of people argue over whether or not Insomniac's Spider-Man series or Rocksteady's Batman Arkham franchise really put the genre on the right path, but I think there's room for both. You let me know your pick. After all, Spider-Man 2018 didn't come out until 3 years after the Arkham trilogy concluded, and it's obviously, it took a lot of influence, it did, from Rocksteady's work. Now, Rocksteady may have invented the modern superhero game formula as we know it. They also paved the way the road for Insomniac to perfect it with a larger open world, more freedom of movement, their own take on the gameplay and the storytelling. Come to think of it, both Rocksteady and Insomniac are going to be releasing major superhero games next year, so that should make for a pretty interesting showdown, and gamers, they're in for a treat. It's more or less confirmed that Spider-Man 2 will drop in late 2023, but we also have 100% confirmation that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, the first Arkhamverse game since 2015, will be coming out in the first half of the year. Plus, there's even rumors of an Arkham Origins remaster coming in the next few months, but we have plenty of videos on that game if you want to go search the channel and learn. The point is, 2023 is going to be a great year for superhero games. Let's just hope that Gotham Knights wasn't an omen of what's to come. Now, there's been some confusion regarding the release date of Spider-Man 2, especially after the leaks concerning the release date of Wolverine, which Insomniac is also working on. Sony and Microsoft have been in the heat of some intense business drama concerning the Activision Blizzard acquisition, and that led to some rather strange information coming out. Sony was trying to argue that Microsoft shouldn't be allowed to purchase Activision because then they would make their games exclusive to the Xbox, to which Microsoft responded that Sony already had a giant lineup of exclusive games, so their argument is hypocritical. But then Microsoft followed that up by saying Sony has a number of high-profile exclusives coming out in 2023, including Wolverine, which was a huge accusation, given the fact that Insomniac has not said a word about that game since its reveal trailer. Now, we made a whole video about this, so you can go watch that if you want our full opinions on it, but the Cliff Notes version is that if Insomniac actually is launching Wolverine next year, that's a huge shock. But I just don't see it happening because Spider-Man 2 is obviously their priority. Both games were announced at the same time, but we later got insider reports that Wolverine had just entered production at the time of that trailer's release. Now, that teaser was more of a proof of concept rather than an actual piece of what is in development, whereas Spider-Man 2's trailer, that was a much more elaborate piece of hype train material. In the midst of all the Wolverine release data drama, Insomniac did give us some confirmation that Spider-Man 2 is still on track to come out by the end of 2023. So I think we can safely assume that Microsoft's intel on Wolverine was not entirely accurate. There's no way Spidey and Wolverine both drop next year, so if Spider-Man 2 comes out holiday time of 2023, Wolverine's probably coming out 2024. Now, let's talk about the platforms. It seems all but confirmed that Spider-Man 2 is going to be an exclusive to the PS5, meaning it will not be a cross-gen game. Sony has been kind of rubbing people the wrong way with their insistence of releasing first-party games for the PS4 and PS5 simultaneously. I get it. Now, it's nice that they're continuing to support the PS4. It inherently brings down the potential quality of the PS5 version when the developers are trying to make the game work on multiple platforms, especially when one of those platforms is way weaker. We seem to have unofficial confirmation Spider-Man 2 will only be coming to the PS5, although there seems to be some kind of hint at a PC release as well. Sony's been cranking out those PC ports of their IPs with a number of major ones launching in 2022 alone. In the last 12 months, the PC world has gotten God of War, Uncharted, and Spider-Man Remastered, and it seems they're also going to be getting The Last of Us by the end of the year. Sony seems to have no intention of slowing down their PC ports, but they've remained rather firm on their stance of the no day and date on PC, which is what sets them apart from Microsoft. So while Spider-Man 2 is not currently confirmed for PC, I wouldn't be shocked at all if there's a PC port roughly 6 months after launch. With the raging success of the first game's PC port, it would honestly be ridiculous for Sony to not port the sequel. It's just a question of when rather than if. Now let's talk about the actual game, the tone of the game. It's going to be much darker, and it is. Insomniac themselves have stated that the story is going to head into a more mature territory, and from the early trailer, we get a glimpse of it, and I'm all for it. The presence of Venom suggests a more violent confrontation and possibly even some kind of psychological element put in there, depending on how Insomniac decides to handle that character. For those that aren't super familiar with the comics, Venom is fully aware of Spider-Man's true identity and relentlessly torments Peter in order to get the upper hand. Now, given the fact that Venom is going to be the main villain, or one of them, and Insomniac has confirmed a darker tone for the story, I wouldn't be shocked at all. We get some kind of arc with Eddie Brock, or perhaps Venom's methods get more personal as he targets people in Peter's life instead of Peter himself. It's also confirmed that Kraven the Hunter will be one of the main antagonists, which I think that's going to bring some more intense combat potential. Kraven's a very rough character to go up against, and if Insomniac plans on doing him justice, which I fully expect they will, it's probably going to get pretty violent. I'm not suggesting Spider-Man 2 is going to be an M rating or anything, but it's certainly going to be more intense than the 2018 game, which was very colorful. It didn't take itself too seriously. Spider-Man's a fantastic character. One of the best things about him is the fact that he can have very upbeat, harmless stories right alongside super dark human ones, and it looks like that's what Insomniac is going to be tapping into for this game. It was also confirmed earlier this year that Brittany Morris, the author of Wings of Fury, a Miles Morales prequel novel, has joined the writing team. So they're certainly taking the story very seriously, and since they hired someone with extensive knowledge of Miles, I think he's going to play a major role in the plot. So let's talk about Miles. The trailer for Spider-Man 2 showed off Peter and Miles fighting alongside each other, suggesting they were going to be part of the gameplay, or at least the main story. We have our own theories about this. We said them a while back. A massive leak came out about a potential multiplayer mode, specifically a co-op PvE mode. Shortly after the PC version of Spider-Man came out, data miners found references in the game code to multiplayer, where one player was Peter and one was Miles. And as you fought off enemies, one of you would eventually be crowned the superior Spider-Man. Now, upon further investigation, it seemed that Insomniac was planning on including a multiplayer mode in Spider-Man Remastered, but at some point they scrapped it, at which point it became a testing ground for sequels. So while we don't have official confirmation that a multiplayer mode is included in Spider-Man 2, we do have 100% confirmation that one was in development. We now have a game starring Peter and Miles. Extremely likely it's going to be revived. I don't think the main campaign is going to have some kind of co-op aspect to it, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if there's a co-op free roam or maybe a co-op challenge mode for you to play with a buddy and try to beat each other's high score, maybe clear out, maybe like a zombie wave mode type in another game. It's not confirmed, but we have undeniable proof that Insomniac has been working on a multiplayer Spider-Man project that stars Peter and Miles. So you take it for what you will. So what about new information? Well, a couple weeks ago, a tweet came out from Millie Amont, who was leaking some gaming information and has in the past. According to her, Spider-Man 2 for the PS5 is exceeding expectations at Marvel, especially thanks to its visual presentation and fluid animations. Apparently, some of the Marvel employees thought they were watching a pre-rendered cutscene, when in reality, it was Spider-Man 2's actual combat gameplay, which, that's exciting. She also stated gameplay is going to be shown off soon, but since that tweet is now a month old, I don't know about the validity. Now, granted, Insomniac and Sony may be just holding on to things until the release date is sooner. That wouldn't be weird at all. It's recently confirmed that EA are taking on a new marketing strategy where they only promote their AAA games for a few months before launch, so it is totally possible Sony's following suit. It's also very likely that Sony doesn't want to take any spotlight away from God of War Ragnarok, which is set to come out really, really soon. Personally, I think we're going to see Spider-Man 2 gameplay in late November, so that way people have time to ask for a PS5 for Christmas in order to play it. So overall, Spider-Man 2 is shaping up to be one of the most high-quality first-party Sony games ever. Some have criticized PlayStation's first-party lineup of being a bit too cinematic and not very gameplay-centric, but it seems Insomniac is looking to find that happy middle ground. The 2018 game featured extremely good gameplay alongside a great story. Now that the sequel is focusing more on the storytelling, I think it's safe to assume the gameplay is going to be similarly enhanced. We don't have an official release date yet, but Insomniac insists it will be out before the end of 2023. So I'm predicting an October launch on the PS5 and then a PC port in Q2 of 2024. Insomniac hasn't let me down yet, and if you ask me, they're one of the best studios currently working in open world games, so I'm eager to see what they're cooking up, and hopefully it lives up to expectations, which I'm sure it will. I hope you guys have a great day. We'll see you soon.